Peggle. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. Ferret64 is, of course, the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. We got a nice slate of things to talk about today, including Avowed, and perhaps I finished a very long game that I've been playing for quite some time. We also got some news for you today, including some concerning news about Marvel Rivals, and, well, we'll get to the other stuff as well. But first, let's start this podcast off with, what have I been playing this past week? Alright, the first thing to talk about today is Avowed, which came out this past week. And I haven't played as much as maybe I want to play right now. I figured I'd get like a bit of a start in the game, let you know what I think of it, and then play it again after I finish Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which I have been making lots of progress in. This is the year of longer games. Sometimes it'll take a little bit longer for me to finish something, but I do always come at you with the best reviews out there. Don't look it up. Don't fact check me on that. But Avowed, I've played about like 3 or so hours. There was the night that the night after it came out. I played pretty deep into the afternoon and into the evening, and I was having fun with it. Like, it starts off in a tutorial-y type place where it's just like, hey, here's how you do this, and hey, here's how you walk, and all that stuff. And once you get past that first part, there's like a mini boss or whatever you want to call it, and you go into the main open world. Then it becomes much better. Like, I was a bit worried at the beginning because I was like, oh, I don't really like the characters that I'm talking to, and there's some weird things going on with like the dialogue here and there. But then it started to become a bit more endearing, the weirdness of the game, and also they started to gather in some characters who were actually interesting to talk to rather than just planks of wood. So the dialogue has been getting better as I've been going through, or as I went through it, and the vastness of the area also just was starting to impress me a bit. So yeah, like I said, you start off, you train, you're shipwrecked, you're like a godlike or whatever you're called, and because you are touched by God, you have some weird deformity on you, some fungus type deformity on you, whether it be Last of Us type fungus that like covers your entire face, or whether it's just like accents on your face. You can kind of choose. You can also choose to hide those accents as well, or the whole fungus thing if you want to. But not enemies, but NPCs in the game will still react to your godlike features. And this whole aspect of the game is a bit goofy to me. Like, one of the things literally looks like a clicker from The Last of Us. Like, it is just one for one, like, hey, I've seen that before. It almost has the same shade of brown on it as well. It's very strange. Some of the other things aren't bad. Like, there's antlers, I guess. There's, like I said, there's some accents that go around the eyes that kind of look like little, shelves, I guess you could say. Those are the ones I chose to use. Kind of covered up by, I gave myself as much facial hair as I could, and hair in general. When I was doing my character creation, I was just kind of like, yeah, what kind of looks the most ridiculous? Because for the most part, you don't really see your character too much, and even when you're in a conversation with other people, you're not like the focus of most conversations. Like, sure, it pans to you when you need to choose an option for what you want to say sometimes, but for the most part, it's focused on the other characters in the group. And you don't even have a voice actor for your character. It's just kind of, you just choose. It's almost like Oblivion or Skyrim or whatever, where you don't have you're not having you speaking the words. It's you yourself are the one talking. So I guess you could immerse yourself into that a bit by actually saying the words or doing the actions on the screen. The game does play a lot like a Dungeons and Dragons type event, where you roll. Not really roll, but, depending on how much charisma you have a better chance of doing this. it is the basics of an RPG for sure, but it goes deeper into like a Dungeons and Dragons type feel because of the fact that you can do weird things like raise eyebrows and say this, or you can grit your teeth and point at them. Like there's these ones that are in these choices that are in brackets, and you choose them, and it's like stare at them. And I I do tend to go towards those options because they elicit the most funny responses. Like, sure, maybe I'll ruin my reputation with someone, or maybe I'll get into a fight by doing whatever. But I feel like those little sequences where it's like raise eyebrow and scratch your chin are the most fun that the game has to offer in terms of dialogue options. Like, sure, there's still ways to be charismatic with people and convince them without weapons or without brute force, right? But the most funny moments in the game are the ones where they're responding to you like just blankly staring at them, and and they're like, all right, or whatever they say. That's not to say that the dialogue is bad or the rest of the dialogue is bad, but there are moments in the game where I do feel like the writing falls a bit flat. I found myself maybe skipping through a bit of dialogue that I feel like is unnecessary or bloated, and that's not usually a good thing for me to do. I mean, obviously you do miss out on some dialogue, but there are moments where this game just kind of drones on and on and on, and there's nothing interesting being said, or if there is anything interesting being said, it's like not conveyed in an interesting way. And you normally get the same information by listening to the start and the end of the conversation. Balance that with an RPG like Kingdom Come Deliverance, where you want to listen to every piece of dialogue. Maybe there's a couple of things you want to skip around in. Sure, maybe you're not as interested in whatever they're talking about, but for the most part, Kingdom Come, I think, does a great job at making you interested in what the other person is saying, or what you and Henry, the main character of Kingdom Come 2, what they're conversing about. Or maybe there's a funny moment that you might miss if you skip through the dialogue, because it's a very smartly written game. And Avowed, it feels more like a generic writing style to it. Like, sure, it has its moments. It does have its moments, but there are a lot of times where I was just like, okay, they're just going off about, they're just yammering, they're just yapping about the lore of the place. And it's like, I really don't, like, I care, but it's not like Mass Effect or Kingdom Come or Red Dead, where I want to be super, super immersed in this world because the world is so interesting, or they've done a great job crafting the world. It's like I have a baseline, like, yeah, I would like to know about the world of Avowed, but the problem is that they really, really want you to know everything about the world. And it's like, look, can I just like go to this area and find like a something to tell me like what happened, rather than having the people in the game describe what happened, then go there, see what happened, and then also read like letters and notes about what happened, and then go back to them and tell them about what happened and have them respond back. It's just sometimes it's just a real big loop. And I'm I'm not like criticizing the game wholeheartedly for that, but it is annoying when it's just like, I'm giving you this mission. You can go do this mission. This is what I saw and what happened. You walk there for, I don't know, 10 minutes. Maybe you do some other stuff along the way. You get there, you beat the enemies, you go, oh, this is what happened. Oh, I'm reading about what happened. Oh, I'm having some dialogue with my partner about what happened. All right, let's go, walk 10 minutes back, maybe do some other things along the way. Go to the person, talk to them. Here's what happened. Oh, that's kind of what happened. That's what happened. Here's your reward. Leave. It's just, sometimes it just becomes a bit too cookie cutter in my opinion. But I will say the enemies you meet in the game are pretty cool. There's a lot of variety so far, from spiders to like little goblin type dudes to bandits and stuff like that. The first area does have a nice collection of enemies to fight, along with some tougher ones. Like there's bears in there. There's like plants or whatever that are attacking. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the game, which is nice. It's like it's got a good variety of enemies in there, something to keep you I guess not guessing, but keep you on your feet when you're fighting. Because if you have too many of the same enemy, then fights become very one note. But the nice thing is that during the game, You fight like maybe some cannon fodder dudes, but in the back there's like a one healing them, or another one that's a bit more beefy, has a shield and a sword, and he's kind of mixed in the middle there, or maybe there's a magic user amongst them. So that does keep you on your toes a bit. As for the combat in the game, obviously you can play in first person or third person. I've been choosing to play in first person just because that's how the game kind of wants you to play it. And I started out with a melee character build, and almost right away I was like, yeah, this is just not like doing it for me. And I've been playing a lot of games recently with melee combat, and I said, I don't want to get like burnt out of this game too quickly because it's another sword fighting game. So even though I did start with a melee class, which gave me perk points for melee, and you might be saying, yeah, but just restart the game, just go back and do the tutorial again. No, I cannot tell you how boring that tutorial was. I will not be going back and do that tutorial again. I just decided, I'll work with this. I will put points into the wizardry stuff because that's what I did. I picked up a wand and I picked up a spell book, and I said, let's try this shit out. And the versatility of the spell book and wand in hand is just crazy. It's so much fun to combine your different spells along with your basic ones. You can level them up by using them and spending skill points on them. So like you start out with a move that like you shoot like ice shards at them, and if you level up, it can freeze them or it can push them back, or there's a whole bunch of different stuff that goes on. So it's kind of got that BioShock feel to it sometimes, where it's like, okay, I'm using the ice physic, and now you're going to freeze, and I can hit you more easily because you're frozen in place or something like that. But there's also a fire one. You can shoot a fireball. But if you leveled up, you shoot a flamethrower, and then if you level up again, you shoot a more powerful flamethrower. And I think that kind of it's nice. It's nice to level this stuff up like pretty quickly, honestly, and start to play the game in a way that is more fun. That's not to say that like melee combat is not fun in the game. I'm sure that if you're not burnt out of melee combat, you can find a lot of enjoyment in it. I'm just saying from my perspective, from my angle, that I didn't want another game that was just me using melee or me using a bow. I played Skyrim with melee combat and a bow. I've been playing Kingdom Come, which, yes, does have various options in it, and I think the melee combat is very good in that game, but once again, melee combat-focused game. There's just so many games that I've played or I want to play that do have a lot of melee combat in it, and I just wanted to give Avowed the best fighting chance that it can for me to get through the rest of the game. And using the wizardry stuff was a good starting point. I think that the wand and the book just really give this game some pizzazz that other games maybe lack in the same genre. I tried using the pistols a bit. They take way too long to fire and reload, so I that was just not viable for my play style. But maybe you would want to use it. I don't know. As for like the quests in the game, as I already said, they're a bit back and forth kind of, but there is like some moments where you go to like a bar and you find this dwarf and he's like chatting up a group of bar people and they're about to fight, and you can talk them down or you can beat them up in the bar, whichever one you want. There's other moments where you're just kind of going through a village and maybe there's a quest giver over here. You go there and it takes you on a whirlwind adventure through the upper ramparts of the town or whatever. The voice actor for Garrus from Mass Effect is in this game, and he's the first companion that you find when you get to the open world. And right away, I was like, I don't know if they meant to do this, but I was just like hooked on that character right away. And it's probably because it's the same voice actor. He has a very, very similar way of speaking that Garrus did. And you spend a lot of time with your squad mates in the Mass Effect trilogy, and Garrus is one that's there from pretty much the start to the end. And so I guess you're kind of automatically endeared to that character a bit just because you've spent so much time with a similar character or a character who sounds similar. I'm just waiting for him to, for the character in Avowed to start doing some calibrations, and the circle will be complete. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to say about Avowed. It looks good. It runs fine. Well, I guess I should say it runs good. Have some lighting issues, much like Kingdom Come. Sometimes it like the lighting effects like flicker for some reason, and It's not like my PC. I don't think my PC is the problem because I'm playing Kingdom Come on PlayStation 5. So it's two different things that are giving me some lighting issues. So hopefully they'll fix that with a patch in the future. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to say about Avowed other than it's on Game Pass. If you want to check it out, I think that it's worth maybe picking up and trying out. If you want a RPG that's maybe a bit more arcade-like, because maybe Baldur's Gate was a bit too in-depth for you, or maybe you don't want to go through the hassle of some of the early frustrations of Kingdom Come Deliverance, I think Avowed, it just kind of like jumps you right into the game. You get some good weapons off the bat, especially if you do some side missions, and then you kind of go from there, and you have this big open world to explore with plenty of things to find. So if you want a game that can just pick up and go, the tutorial section is not that long, even though it's a pain in the ass. It's really boring. It's not that long. So, you kind of just pick up, go, get into it, and go from there. So, like I said, if you want more of an arcade RPG experience, Avowed is probably going to be the one for you. And it's been good so far. I enjoyed myself for the time that I played it. I'll probably pick it up again later on. I do want to finish some other things first before really diving into Avowed. And also, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is out, so it's one of those things where it's like I'll probably put Avowed on the back burner even more once I get my hands on that game. But as of right now, I'm going to give Avowed like a thumbs up. Like, if you like RPGs, if you want a more fast-paced RPG, probably be a recommend for you. If you like a more in-depth time, you can have that in Avowed, but I would look somewhere else for a more deeper story and quest lines. Speaking of Like a Dragon Yakuza in Hawaii, my order didn't come in from Best Buy. They did that thing where it's like, we're still preparing your order the day it was supposed to come out. And I, usually when that happens, I go, yeah, it's either going to be like a couple days or a week before I get my copy of the game, which doesn't make any sense because I feel like if you pre-order a game, you should get that game no matter what, right? They should order a copy for you. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and guess that like their shipment came in late or something like that. But even then, like it went a bit further than I usually see, where it's like your order has been delayed. Like usually I don't get that when it's just been, like a minor inconvenience. I got that message that was like, warning, exclamation point, like your order has been delayed. We don't know when we're going to get it. We don't know when we're going to get it to you. So I canceled the order and I bought it from Amazon, and that's supposed to be coming in today, the day that I'm recording this. So hopefully by next week I'll have played it a bit and let you know what I think of it. I'm very excited for the game. Like it was like since they started showing off more and more about it, it's been one of my most hyped games this year. Not only because the Like a Dragon series has a great story to it, or they usually have good stories to them, but because that pirate ship battling is exactly what I want from an arcade pirate ship battling game. Like Skull and Bones was supposed to be what Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is, and I think that the creators of Like a Dragon jumped on this hole in the gaming landscape that just didn't have a pirate game, a good pirate game. So I'm hoping with fingers crossed and bated breath that I really, really enjoy it, and I do expect to play that by the time we're here in the same spot next week. Okay, I know I've been talking about relatively the same games every week here for a little bit. I mean, there's been some variety, of course, but we did finally finish Orcs Must Die Deathtrap, which I've been talking about on and off. When it first came out, I was pretty negative on it. Then last week, they updated the game a couple times, added some more traps in there, made it viable to play with other characters. And yeah, they've improved the experience tenfold since then. And now I come to today saying that we finished the game, Greedy Waffles and I finished the game, and I left it with a relatively positive spirits. My spirits were pretty positive. I think that the game, as a roguelite, is not my favorite roguelite ever. I'm not even that big into roguelites personally. Like, I do enjoy them, but there are some times where you feel like each run just takes forever. And Orcs Must Die Deathtrap is like that because you have to, you get to the first boss, you do 2 levels in the boss fight. And then the next one is 3 levels in a boss fight. The next one is 4 levels in a boss fight. The next one is 5 levels in a boss fight. And if you don't beat them the first time every round, I mean, you're going to be going back and forth doing 5 in a row or 4 in a row a lot. And it does start to become a bit boring because it's the same like 5 or so maps over and over again. And sure, they do add an extra map in with the bosses, and they can have a normal mission to them, which I was wrong about before. So I think like the grand total goes up to like 8 levels, and there's no variety there. Like that is the I don't even know how to describe it. That is just no variety at all. Like you play the same maps over and over again. And I know that that's a very critical thing for me to say, and it is for sure. You can still have fun with the game though, so it's not like a complete detriment, especially if you take it in like small bursts. Like, okay, we do a run and then we upgrade our stuff and then we come back to it a little bit later. Or maybe we do two runs at a time. Maybe we do that, but it just starts to really grate on you because it's a lot of the same thing and it's very it has a lot of repetition in it. And we tried switching up characters. Like Greedy found a different character that he wanted to use, and I was using a different character for a few matches, and I just went back to Maximus at the end, or Maximilian at the end. So it can also, like, once you find the character you like, it's also hard to like justify playing as a different character. Like, why would I play as the little cat character that I haven't leveled up any of the skill points for them yet? Like, why would I do that? Like, I want to use the character that I'm good with or that I like to use. So I mean, the characters do offer you variety for the game, but when it comes to roguelites, when you have a niche and you want to get through the game maybe relatively quickly or with a little bit more ease, you're going to want to use a character or weapons or whatever the game has to offer that you are most comfortable with. And for this game right here, Orcs Must Die Deathtrap, the crossbow with Maximilian was the best one that I wanted to use, and obviously Greedy found his niche as well. Which does make for a bit of a boring playthrough if you're just using the same character over and over and over again. But that's not to say that the game can't be fun, because the game is fun. I mean, it's Orcs Must Die. It has a baseline fun factor to it, just killing hordes of orcs, trying to, trap them and use the various traps on them and kite them around the map as you do, and work with other people to take care of them. And it can be maybe a bit much to take in for maybe someone coming to the game for the first time. There's a lot to learn about barricade setup and trap placement, and just like your characters also have a couple things you need to learn about them. They have passive abilities and stuff like that. So there's a lot to learn about the game. But if you're coming at this from having Orcs Must Die experience in the past, you won't have too big of a problem with this game. It's still the same basic concept. It's just the maps are huge and there's not a lot of variety in the maps. So your strategy becomes very samey over time. And that's not to say like if you're I'm saying that phrase a lot. I apologize, but if you're someone who is coming to the game for the first time, it's not too terribly difficult to pick it up and learn what you must do. But there is a bit of like stuff that you should know from the other games, like various enemy configurations and what enemies are the ones to take down first and all that stuff. So let me talk about some positives. I think the graphics are great in the game. They did a fantastic job upping from Orcs Must Die 3. They did a great job with that. I hope that the next Orcs Must Die game has the same graphics, either that or better. The soundtrack is great. It's got like this medieval metal type vibe to it, which is very like Necrogoblicon-esque, and I love that shit. And I think that they did a great job with the soundtrack in the game. I think that in general, like the maps that you get, even though there's not as many as I would like, they do offer some differences between them. Obviously, when you go through them, you set up usually the same. But some maps do have multiple places for the rift that you must protect to spawn, and it does switch things up a little bit, makes your strategy a little bit different. But usually you're going to be using the same strategy for each map, but it is nice to have some differences between the maps. And also, the variety of traps that you can use is nice. Some maps offer more advantages for flip traps, or some are more better suited for like ceiling traps or something like that. So you do need to know the maps enough to remember what type of traps you need, or what your configuration would need for the kill boxes that you set up. Also, I think that's just fun to play with friends in general. Like, sure, there are frustrating moments with this game, especially early on, but it is still fun to strategize and work with another person or other people to get the job done. And just to kind of conclude this whole Orcs Must Die Deathtrap saga, I think that it is worth playing now. Back when the game first came out, I was leaning towards like a thumbs down for this game. But now that they've updated the game, gave you more free barricades, giving you the option to buy barricades, done so many tweaks to the just everything in the game has had tweaks done to it. I think that's much better now, and it could become better in the future if they keep working on the game and listening to the feedback from the players. And maybe they should have done like a beta period for this game where they kind of see how the community reacts to it on a public forum, or maybe even a private event that's invite only. I think that could have really helped the game out a lot. And that's not to say that I think the game is unfinished or whatever. I just think that the game was a bit unbalanced. Maybe a bit, it just needed some tweaking here and there. Because the game right out of the box, or straight off the download, ran great and it played well. The problem was with the balancing issues, the character issues, there was just things that needed to be tweaked here and there. And now that they started doing tweaking, the game feels a lot better and it plays a lot better, in my opinion. So in the end, as of this point, now that we've finished the final boss and we can kind of just do it endless for the rest of our lives, I guess, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. It's close-ish to a 4, but it's definitely riding that line of like could be a 3 if things go backwards with these updates. But I'm relatively positive about the game right now. I enjoyed my time with it at the end. And what more can you ask for? Sure, I still have some criticisms for the game, which are glaring issues. Maybe if they start adding some new maps or some other stuff in there that will ease that, and maybe it will go more towards a 4 out of 5. But as of right now, I think a 3.5 is a good place to keep it. It's above average. It's good enough for what it is, and I had some enjoyment out of it while also having some problems with it as well. Of course, I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I am on the second part of the game now, the second map of the game, I guess you could say. I don't have anything new to add, other than I'm really enjoying my time with it. So if you are an RPG fan, or if you liked Kingdom Come 1, or even if you didn't like Kingdom Come 1 like myself, try it out maybe. Maybe try it out. But you're not here for that. I've talked about Kingdom Come a lot these past couple episodes. Let me talk about something that I haven't talked about on the podcast because I've been playing it for so long. And that is Red Dead Redemption 2. Recently finished this game on stream. I had a blast with it, and I think the people who are watching along also had a really good time with it. Red Dead 2 is a prequel to Red Dead 1, as you probably already know. I mean, Red Dead 2 has been out for quite some time. I've owned the game since it came out. I played the game on day one. I got a couple hours in, past the intro sequence, where you come down from the snowy mountains and you go to Valentine for the first time and you do stuff there. And for some reason, I just decided that I didn't want to play it anymore. Maybe I was overwhelmed with everything that it was teaching you, or maybe I was too overwhelmed with the size of the map at the time, maybe it was going to be too big for me to get through. Or maybe it's just because it came out in a crowded gaming year. I mean, that year was one of my favorite years in gaming, and with Red Dead 2 coming out now, or being, I finished it, that is also like added to that point where it's like 2018 was like a fantastic year all around for gaming. It was just we had a couple bangers come out that year. We had a lot of fun indie games come out that year, and yeah, I mean, Red Dead 2 just came out in a time where maybe I wasn't in the right headspace or in the right part of my gaming career to fully commit to it. And I did try to pick it up a couple times after that. When I updated my PC, I rebought the game on there, and I used Red Dead 2 to test the game, my graphics and my setup. So it's not like I forgot about the game. It's just I've been maybe nervous about starting it because it is such a large endeavor to take on. So after all is said and done, I missed out. Like, I should have played this game back in 2018. It probably would have beat God of War that year for me for Game of the Year. And now I completely understand why people were so upset the Game Awards gave God of War Game of the Year when it definitely should have been Red Dead 2. And that's not new. I'm sure this isn't news to anybody. This is obviously nothing new. But my eyes are open. My eyes are wide open now. And I do wish that I had played the game sooner because this is a all-time classic. It's an all-time great. Much like Red Dead 1 in that same way, but also in a different way too. It's great for different reasons while also kind of being similar to Red Dead 1. Red Dead 1 and this game. Great Western atmosphere, great story, really fun mission structure, just really great interactions with strangers and random encounters in the wild, a really great crafting system, a really fun combat system, and Red Dead 2 has all of that, but it also adds on top like a more deep character narrative for all these characters that you eventually, most of them you see in Red Dead 1 because Red Dead 2 is a prequel. Adding more depth to these characters, giving them more story, showing all this great grand adventure before John Marston decided to hunt down his old gang members, right? You get attached to these characters like you never thought you would for a game like this because Red Dead 1 you're just killing all of them, but you see them more, you see their personality more in Red Dead 2, and it really adds to Red Dead 1. I've said this before and I'll say it again. A good prequel adds depth to the game that preceded it, to the game that came out before that maybe they weren't planning on doing a prequel for. It happens with movies too. Furiosa came out last year, and I thought that like even though it's not as good as Fury Road, it's still like a very good movie because it enhances the experience of the sequel, the quote unquote sequel, the movie that comes out after it, or the game that comes out technically after it canonically. And Red Dead 2 does that so well. It attaches you to these characters. It lets you see the changes in their demeanor and what's happening within this gang. And also the changes in the West as well, like the area that you're in as well. It's all the times they are changing and the gangs are dying out. And even though there's still plenty of gangs in the first game, it just kind of shows how the world is changing. And the outlaws of the Old West are old news. And you kind of have to deal with that throughout the game where it's like, okay, it's no more like, ride a horse up along a train to get the big score. Like now we're robbing a city bank and we're taking a trolley out of there to try and escape the law. It's all these like different things that they're introducing in here to like, yeah, sure. Like we're still in a gang and we're still kind of in the Old West, but also like the modern era, the industrial era is here and it's pushing out the old ways. And of course the gang members all deal with that differently. On top of all that, it has some really nice systems in there as well. Like everyone knows that this game is revered for its realism. Obviously there's a lot of stuff going on, having to eat and sleep, shave and cut your hair, having to upgrade your stamina and, run around, all the stuff with your horse, having, brushing your horse, feeding your horse, leveling up by just being, good with the horse in general. Along with, all the other stuff going on as well, where it's like, bathing is another thing as well. You can stink too much and give yourself away to predators in the wild, or, if you get bit by a snake, you gotta go to a doctor and take some drugs for it or get it sucked out of your system, right? There's so many different things going on in the game, and it can be overwhelming. But I think it all works well together too, because like throughout the game, I wasn't so much worrying about like, oh, have I eaten today? Like I wasn't really worrying about that. When I saw that my cores were low, I said, oh, I'll eat this cooked steak that I have in my bag, and that was it. Like, sure, food does spoil in your bag, but as long as you get like, because you can find a lot of canned food and stuff like that around too, so it's not like that big of a deal. Plus, finishing a lot of the main missions gives you a ton of money, like more money than you'll ever know what to do with. And if you're smart about it, you won't just spend it all on guns and ammunition. You'll also get a lot of provisions, and that kind of lasted me throughout the rest of the game up until the end. So there's a lot of ways to like almost pseudo ignore the realism side of the game. Yeah, but there's of course there's a lot of things that you need to worry about too. So it's not like it's a complete like, oh, you can just forget about all the core stuff. No, you still need to worry about that, but you can make it feel a bit more arcade by just having the stuff with you that you need at all times. The gunfight in the game is also very good. Like they brought the red eye stuff back where you can, or dead eye, I'm sorry, dead eye stuff back where you can slow down time and make sure to aim your headshots appropriately. That all works very well. You can get a lot of different weapons in this game. The maintenance on your weapons is also pretty cool. Cleaning them, upgrading them, doing a bunch of stuff like leveling up your various perks and stuff like that. Very good. Yeah, I just had like such a great time with the game. It's definitely one of my favorites of all time now. And I do want to play or replay Red Dead 1 sooner rather than later. I want to keep this game nice and familiar in my head so that I don't forget about this random character that maybe I met in Red Dead 2 that is in Red Dead 1. Because that was happening for this game. Like Red Dead, I didn't really remember who was specifically in Red Dead 1. Like I did know the basics, like, oh yeah, Bill's there and Dutch is there and whatever. But I had forgotten that, is Sean in the next game or in the first game? Is this or that character in the first game? I kind of forgot, which made the game a bit more interesting for me because I didn't just know who was going to die specifically. Like, obviously, there were times where, like, John was in trouble, and you're like, yeah, he's the main character of the first game, so obviously he isn't dying here. They probably could have done a few less times with that. Like, John was, like, he was shot, at the beginning of the game, he's, like, torn up by wolves. And then throughout, in the middle of the game, he's captured and taken to, like, a work camp, and he's on death row. And then later on, he's like shot and he falls off a train, and you think that he's dead. You think that he's dead, quote unquote, for a while. Then he comes back. There's just so many moments like that where it's like, of course he's not gonna die. Like he's the main character of the first game. If they killed him off here, it would be a shock, but it wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, I mean, Red Dead 2, it's a 5 out of 5 easily. It's got everything that you want in like an old West game. It's got everything you want from Red Dead 1 and more. And maybe I'll end up liking Red Dead 1 better when I replay it. I doubt it, but maybe it'll happen because I have a lot of nostalgia with that game and whatever. But I think that Red Dead 2 does an excellent job with what it's trying to do. Everything works so well. The game ran beautifully, didn't have it crash once on me. I mean, the game looks beautiful. It plays really well. It's got such good animations in there. Like, just the hair growth and, like, the dirtiness of your character. The details are there. And, like, all the side characters and stuff like that, too, that you can meet, it's just crazy. A lot of good main missions. A lot of great characters in there. Character growth and development. Yeah, easy 5 out of 5. And anyone who's played it probably says the same thing. Very easy 5 out of 5. Or a very high score in the least. So yeah, that's everything that I've been playing this past week. Let's go ahead and talk about what's in the news. Alright, first up, Marvel Rivals has surpassed 40 million players on the various different platforms that it's on, and they have made $2.9 billion in revenue, which that they only released this game in December, 3 months ago, not even 3 months ago, which is insane. Which just goes to show you that hero shooters and brawlers definitely are the big ticket right now, which is why so many companies are trying to do that. But when they're done well, like Marvel's Rivals is, I mean, even though I didn't play it too much, I do know that it is pretty high quality. about the same quality as the original Overwatch, maybe a little bit better. They do make money because, I mean, and obviously, like, these Marvel characters, people love them. You know, you get Star-Lord and Venom, and they just added the Fantastic Four characters. Like, of course it's going to make tons of money if you just put a skin out there that looks like, the old school Punisher skin, or maybe like the Winter Soldier from the movie skin, or something like that, right? People are gonna eat that up. And a lot of games try and do this, like Concord from last year, and they fail because they don't have the brand recognition that Marvel does. Or, even Overwatch nowadays has that brand recognition. Like, people know who Tracer is, people know who Winston is, And in Marvel Rivals, like, most of the Marvel characters that are featured in this game, everyone knows them. Everyone knows Thor, everyone knows Iron Man, Storm, and Punisher, and Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight's in there, or Spider-Man. Like, they have everything they need to make a successful game, and they did that. And they could have just shat this out, right? They could have just shat out Marvel Rivals and said, hey, here's a hero shooter with Marvel characters, have fun. Or they could have honestly charged money for this, like, hey, $40 for Marvel Rivals. But they didn't. They put it out for free, and you can play for free, and there's a battle pass and everything associated with it. But for the most part, it's free to play, and you can play with however many characters that you want to. And they did a good thing there. They really, really did. And it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, good on you. You did great. You fucking blew it out of the park with this hero shooter. In a world of too many hero shooters and brawlers, like, we got one that still makes money, tons of money, prints money essentially. But after all this, they still laid off the Marvel Rivals team. Okay, let me go back. So NetEase is the development studio behind the game. This is not the studio's core team, however. The team who made Marvel Rivals was a support studio or a side team that was mostly working on it. And everyone in that support team has been laid off. Like, they lost their jobs. On LinkedIn, the director, Thaddeus Sasser, who sounds like a Marvel character, said, my stellar, talented team just helped deliver an incredibly successful new franchise and Marvel Rivals for NetEase Games, and were just laid off. Separately, the level designer named Jack Burrows said, was an enormous pleasure to work with my American coworkers who joined me in the calling, which is they were laid off. Just couldn't dodge that big boot, I guess, no matter how big of a success the gig is. Hopefully, all these people who are very talented, obviously, get hired. I mean, I'm wondering if, Blizzard is going to pick them up to work on Overwatch for them. Like, it just doesn't make any sense that they made this super successful game. They, this support studio did most of the legwork, and they are the ones who are getting laid off instead of, no one should be getting laid off, but, out of everyone who is getting laid off in the video game space, this does not seem like the one that should be being laid off. Like, they should be given another project or be doing something that is inside the company, because they obviously did great work with this. So, that was a shock to pretty much everyone in the gaming universe. Like, this was a big story. And this statement came out below, which came from NetEase themselves. We recently made the difficult decision to adjust Marvel Rivals development team structure for organizational reasons and to optimize development efficiency of the game. This resulted in the reduction of a design team based in Seattle that is part of a larger global design function in support of Marvel Rivals. We appreciate the hard work and dedication of those affected and will be treating them confidentially and respectively with recognition for their individual contributions. We want to reassure our fan base that the core development team for Marvel Rivals, which continues to be led by lead producer Wai Kong Wu and game creative director Guanyin Chen in China, remains fully committed to developing an exceptional experience. We are investing more, not less, into the evolution and growth of this game. We are excited to deliver new superhero characters, maps, features, and content to assure an engaging live service experience for our worldwide player base. Sounds like a bit of fluff, in my opinion. But obviously, the main force of the development team is fine, but it is very, very crazy that anyone who is working within NetEase on Marvel Rivals is getting laid off simply because the game has made so much money. You would think that they would want to keep their developers intact and ready to go for whatever comes their way, but obviously not. So like I said, hopefully these people get new jobs in the industry, better jobs in the industry. They've obviously have a lot of talent. They're just being laid off for apparently no reason other than, oh, we just, we wanted to save a little bit of extra money here and there after making how much did I say? Not $6 billion, was it? Yes. No, $2.9 billion, almost $3 billion, probably over $3 billion by now. In a bit of a, I don't know if it's a similar story, but it's kind of more discerning news. Nintendo is discontinuing the gold points rewards, which was one of the main incentives of the Switch throughout its entire lifespan. You could earn these gold coins and get free games, free indie games, even some free main games. So gold points, they were rewarded when you purchase digital or physical games on the Switch. Allows you to apply them to future game purchases for a reasonable discount. Some would be 5%, others would be up to 25% off. And like I said, you would also get some free games in there as well. You could get some free indie games too. But as of March 24th, 2025, or the 25th, depending on your region, gold points are not going to be able to be earned anymore. Platinum points will not be unchanged, but gold coins or whatever will be going away. A lot of people are wondering if they are taking gold coins away because of the fact that the games will be up to $70 with the Switch 2 iteration. Which I guess would make some sense, but also if these coins are just for discounts on the program, why does it matter if it's a $70 thing, But yeah, I mean, look, I never really used gold coins, but there are a lot of people who swore by them, and a lot of people who saved up enough to get free games from it. And it is unfortunate that they are removing gold points. In March, we're only a month away when March comes around to the Switch 2 full reveal, and then I'm guessing sometime in June, maybe even July, that the Switch 2 will actually be available to us. I do wonder if they are replacing it with a different function, with a different feature. Maybe when in the Switch 2 reveal, they'll be like, we're announcing a new version of gold points that'll be exclusive to Switch 2. Maybe they're discontinuing it for the Switch 1 because not much is going to be coming to the Switch 1. It's really hard to say, but the main thing is that this was a very good incentive thing for the Switch throughout its entire lifespan. The entire thing was such a good idea for them to do, and it is unfortunate that they are taking this away. Hopefully, they're just replacing with something different or something better. But we'll have to wait and see on that front. Speaking of Nintendo, Hollow Knight Silksong was taken down from the eShop for a full day, maybe a day and a half or something. Maybe it was more half a day. But this was spotted by Wario64, who posts on Twitter and Blue Sky and stuff like that. The page for Hollow Knight Silksong was completely taken down. It just had the little Wario going uh-oh or whoopsie or whatever. So the page was removed, and the only result that you would get for searching for Silk Knight was the original Hollow Knight on the eShop. All the other stores were still online, like PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, and others, so it was only Nintendo Switch version of the game that was taken offline. Now, it did come back, so it was a day of it not being on the website, and it did come back. You can find it right now on the website, as a matter of fact. And Team Cherry was probably just updating the page, and it took it down for a little while. It was a bit scary for a minute there, oh God, was it canceled? Was it silently canceled in the background, and we'll be getting some sort of announcement from them in the near future? It was a bit of a scary moment there for a little while, but it did resurface back on the eShop, and the other places weren't affected, or either the changes they made were not enough to take the website down. But people are still expecting Silksong to come out this year, as with every year that since its announcement. But we'll just have to wait and see for more. Finally, with the Nintendo news, or, well, Nintendo adjacent, Pokemon Presents will be coming around next week on the 27th of February. They'll be talking about probably the Pokemon trading card game Pocket, maybe Pokemon Sleep. Possibly Pokemon Go will be having some sort of update. People are hoping, including myself, we're hoping to see some information about Pokemon ZA, which is the next big Pokemon game. Perhaps the game will be just coming to Switch 2. Maybe that'll be the big announcement, is like, yep, we're developing ZA, but it will only be coming to Switch 2. Hard to say. But there are some, there's a fair amount of expectations coming into this one. Last year and the year before that, not so much. Like, yeah, we got the tease for ZA last year, and, like, that's fine. Yeah, but there was a lot of, like, stuff that you don't really care about, like Pokemon Cafe. Like, who really cares about that? Pokemon Sleep. I mean, how many things can you tell me about Pokemon Sleep before I go to sleep? Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like there are some expectations coming into it, but we'll see what they decide to show off on the 27th, and it's going to be at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. GMT, and 11 p.m. in the Asian time. So, yeah, if you want to check that out, that'll be available the watch on the 27th, which is the next Thursday. All right, Split Fiction. The Friend Pass is even better than it was before. So before, you would buy one copy of the game and be able to play it with someone else on that same system. So PlayStation 4, you would have a PlayStation 4 friend. Xbox, you would have an Xbox friend. PC, same thing. On Steam, on Switch. It was always within the same console. Hazelight announced that the Friend Pass will allow for anyone who owns the game to invite a friend to join the fun online for free, even if they don't own a copy still. Better, though, the Friend Pass will now let you connect and play with friends across different platforms with Crossplay for the very first time in a Hazelight game. They're quoted as saying, you can do this as many times as you like, even if you invite a new friend to play through the sci-fi adventure for the first time each time. Also, they said, even if neither you or your co-op partner own a copy of Split Fiction, you can both experience the trial of the game for free using the Friend Pass as well. Once you both download and launch the Friend Pass version of the game, you will be able to invite each other to play for the opening stages of the game together and continue your progress once you purchase a full copy of the game. So that's also very nice as well. You can actually team up with someone else for the demo of the game too. So yeah, I thought that was a very cool thing. Like, obviously, Hazelight has been doing this for a while. Of own one copy, you technically own two, right? Or you can play with someone else with that copy of the game. And now they're going even more above and beyond by letting you just kind of cross-play with anyone else across any system. That is very cool of them to do. And hopefully other companies look at this and go, oh, wow, that is a good idea, isn't it? But we shall see. All right, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 reveal has been teased. There is a countdown on the Tony Hawk Pro Skater website, counting down to March 4th, 2025. Now, people are expecting this to be Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4, a new remake of those two games. But it's hard to say if that'll actually be the remake that they're doing, but it seems pretty likely that they'll be doing 3+4, even though that was... I believe, I don't know, was it a year or so ago that it was like thought to be canceled or it was struggling or something like that? I don't know, but what we do know is that there is something coming on the Tony Hawk Pro Skater website. It's counting down to something, and a lot of people are very hopeful that it is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 because 1+2 was very good. I played that a lot. Obviously, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 is very nostalgic for me. I know a lot of people love 2, and obviously there's other ones as well. But Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 is where I started on the N64, and I loved it so much. I didn't even play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 until like a long ways down the line. Same thing with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. When I first originally bought my PS1, that was one of the games that I first picked up, and that's the first that was when I was like 20 or so that I picked up the PS1. And it was like, oh wow, this is like really good. I wish I had played this sooner, right? So yeah, 3+4 possibly coming later this year if this reveal is actually 3+4. It has the old school like kind of logo looking thing for it, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, the countdown has begun, and we'll see what it has to offer when it reaches 0. All right, Tales from the Shire, the Hobbit life simulator, has been delayed. It will now be coming out in July. In a post on Twitter, they said, "Dear fellow hobbits, a good hobbit feast takes time, and so does Tales of the Shire. We're taking a little longer to ensure that every hobbit on every platform can enjoy the same cozy experience. The game will now launch July 29th. We want this game to feel like a warm hug from Middle-earth, and we are making sure that no matter where you play, you'll feel right at home in the Shire. From foot hairstyles to the fluffiest cakes, every detail will be just right. We appreciate your patience and cannot wait for you to experience life in the Shire this summer. In the meantime, arrange the table, polish your silver, and get ready for the feast fit for a hobbit. Looking forward to welcoming you to Bywater from the folks at Weta Workshop Game Studio." So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things that it's always good to delay a game, especially if it needs work. Even though I don't know how many people are like super excited for this one. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who love cozy games that are excited for it for sure. Maybe love Lord of the Rings. Me in general, me personally, I just want to whack a orc's head off with a sword. So that's kind of like, I don't know if I really want this game. Maybe I'll wait for it to be discounted or free on PlayStation Plus or something like that. But if you're a cozy person who enjoys cozy games, I'm sure you'll love this. And I'm glad that you're getting a cozy Lord of the Rings game. But once again, I just want to put a sword right through an orc's heart. That's all I want to do in a Lord of the Rings game. Please. But we haven't gotten that in quite some time. Like, even though that Mines of Moria game had some like combat in it, wasn't really like that well fleshed out. Gollum, I mean, that was barely a combat heavy game, and this game doesn't seem to be having any combat in it at all. So the last time we got a combat filled Lord of the Rings game, I feel like, was Shadow of War, right? Unless I'm wrong about that, but it feels like it's been that long since a combat heavy Lord of the Rings game. So maybe we'll see something in the future for that. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's coming soon. All right, Dune Awakening has a release date, and it's not too far out. The game will be coming out on May 20th. A new release date trailer came out on their YouTube channel, Funcom's YouTube channel. And, I think the game is looking good. The MMO type style of the game, like, I'm not like super crazy about MMOs. Like, even though the game looks good and I think it will play fine, I'm not super into like the MMO space. But for people who like MMOs, like those survival type games, and they want to form maybe a gang with their friends or something like that, I'm sure this will be a pretty good experience. But yeah, this is coming to PC on May 20th. The PlayStation and Xbox release dates will be announced at a later date, so it's probably coming later in the year or even been delayed. Yeah, so coming to Steam first, the other platforms later, which might be a bit annoying for people, but maybe there's just some things they need to tweak on the console versions to maybe allow crossplay to work or whatever. Also, The Thing Remastered is getting a physical edition. Who could have seen this coming? Me, myself. I said that there would probably be a physical edition coming, and I did guess that it was coming from Limited Run Games, but it's not. It's coming from a different site. I believe it's coming from VGP, perhaps? No, it's coming from the official Atari website. Okay, well, anyway, I did pre-order my copy of it. I was waiting for a physical version of this game. I wanted a physical version. Even though I own it on PS2 already, I did want a physical version. The physical edition will be coming on the 25th of June this year, and it costs about $50 if you want the deluxe edition, or if you get the regular version, it's only $35. The deluxe edition will have a return to Outpost 31, which I guess is like, that must be like the extra content coming to the game, which I believe is a free thing for everyone. Actually, no, I'm reading the wrong thing. This is the description of the game itself. Never mind. Never mind. I know what the game is about. You go back to the Outpost, you find you see the events that happen there, and then more things happen. Okay. So anyway, the deluxe edition of the game comes with the collector's box, the Thing Remastered physical version, a steelbook for the game, a So on patch, which is like the patch that you see in the movies, a poster for the game, and also the Blake ID card, which is kind of cool. I don't know if that's worth the $60 price tag or $50 price tag for the game, but I mean it's a decent deluxe edition. But I'm just gonna get the standard edition. That's all I got. I thought that was good enough for me. So yeah, if you want to check that out, that will be available soon. It's able to pre-order right now. All right, Yooka-Laylee Replay had a new trailer, which actually got me kind of interested in this remake. Because before it's like, well, I don't know if they're gonna be doing enough to make it worth playing. Like the original game is just kind of bad in my opinion. Like it's fine, but it's also kind of bad. And one of the worst things about it was the Rextro Arcade. The games in the Rextro Arcade were just terrible. They were off. They did not play well at all. They were glitchy. They were bad. But now they have redone the entire Rextro experience. You now play with Rextro in these various like old school style platforming and like I guess action things as well. It looks like they took maybe a bit of inspiration from like Astrobot or Mario or whatever, because the levels that they designed are very colorful. They seem to be much better than what came before. So yeah, there'll be 8 new arcade machines in the game with new mini games. You can play as Rextro himself, who has been redesigned as well. So yeah, I think that for what it's worth, it looks like they did a lot of work with this game. Not only a graphical boost, but also redoing some of the mechanics in the game, some of the things in the game. So that's very hopeful for me, because I want to like Yooka-Laylee. I really do. Like I love the Impossible Lair, but that's a completely different experience. It's a 2D Donkey Kong Country inspired platformer, right? Yooka-Laylee was a Banjo-Kazooie inspired one, which just did not live up to the expectations that people had for it, including myself, and I helped fund this thing. So when Yooka Replay comes out, I'm actually very interested in trying it out and playing it, because it looks like they did a lot of good things to it. So if you want to check out that trailer, it's on Playtonic's YouTube channel if you want to check that out. All right, a game got announced called Esophagize. So this is a weird one where you extend these like dudes' necks and you do various platforming and co-op things with other people. It kind of reminds me of that struggling game where you played like this ball with tentacles coming out and you kind of like tried to platform around. It kind of has the same idea where you bite onto things and you swing around with these guys' long necks, and you kind of help each other out by making pathways or grabbing onto each other and stuff like that. So if you want to check out the trailer for that, there is a trailer on PlayStation's YouTube channel. This is supposed to be coming out in spring of 2025. It's a weird and wacky one, but it might just scratch that itch of like games that are supposed to make you frustrated. All right, and last but not least, here are 10 games that are leaving PlayStation Plus at the end of the month. Actually, next month, so March 18th. These are the games leaving March 18th. Man, we're already almost in March. That's crazy. So Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 6, Resident Evil 3, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy, JoJo Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, Life is Strange 2, Life is Strange 2 True Colors, Final Fantasy Type O HD, Street Fighter 5, and Mortal Kombat 11 are all leaving the service on March 18th. So if you want to check any of those out, be my guest. I would probably recommend like Resident Evil 3, Dragon Ball Z, Ace Attorney Trilogy, Street Fighter 5 and Mortal Kombat 11. Those are all the games that I would recommend. You can try out Life is Strange True Colors. Life is Strange 2 sucks in my opinion, but I know there's a lot of people who like it, so if you want to check that out, you can. The Monster Energy Motocross games seem to be kind of iffy on the quality for them. I've never really seen a good review for them, but there you go. The other games I really don't know anything about, so you can check those out at your own peril. Well, you're not going to die if you play them, but check them out if you want to. That's all I'm saying. And that's it for today, folks. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Fair64 podcast. I really appreciate you for listening and or watching on the YouTube version. If you want to leave the video a like, or if you want to give the podcast a 5-star review on Spotify, I would appreciate that. Or if you want to talk about it on Apple Podcasts, give it a review there. I would appreciate that as well. If you want to leave a comment or whatever, if you want to join the Discord, that's the link down in the description below as well. You can talk to me there too. Let's go ahead and move on to everyone's favorite part of the podcast. Guess that song. If you know the song's name and the game that it came from, let me know in the comments below on YouTube or in the Discord or anywhere else, really. And I'll give you a super reaction in the Discord, and you'll get the admiration of your peers. If you comment on YouTube, I will give you a heart and a congratulations. Anywhere else, I don't know if I can do anything else, but if you know it, post it somewhere else, and maybe someone will be like, hey, good job, sport. Let's listen to today's song right now.
Cruel, cruel world, must I go on? Cruel, cruel world, I'm moving on. I've been living too fast, and I've been living too wrong. Cruel, cruel world, I'm gone.
Okay, if you know the name of the song and the game that it came from, let me know in the places that I told you. All right, folks, thank you so much once again for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you want to check out anything else I do, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, etc. All the links are down below for my socials. Also, make sure to check out the Yemmy the Ferret VODs channel. Twitch has changed how they do VODs now, or highlights, and you won't be able to save your more than 100 hours of footage on Twitch now. So I had like 900 hours of past streams. Most of the stuff is already uploaded to YouTube, but I had to scramble and get some stuff, taken out of there. So everything I'll be trying to update the YouTube VODs channel a lot more to catch up with the current stuff that I'm doing, and then I will be uploading the VODs to that channel after we finish games. I will be doing that 100%. I will not fall behind. I can't fall behind because there's not enough room on Twitch for how much I stream. So that is my promise to you all for this year and for the future. Also, if you want to check out the other podcast I do, it's called Film Freaks with a Z at the end. We talked about the Iron Giant from 1999 in the past episode. Those episodes come out every 2 weeks. All right, folks, have a good rest of your day. I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I appreciate you listening. I'll talk at you next week. So long.
The Ferret64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. Small sound clips used throughout the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. The song in the intro and outro is Nightshade by Adhesive Wombat. The Ferret64 logo was made by Player2P2. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions, video game related, are my own. Thank you for listening.